So Andrea, I think you would agree that there is a lot of uncertainty in our world today, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and there's one or two things that you can do when you have uncertainty in your life. You could, one, stick your head in the sand and pretend it's not happening to you. And of course, you could hope or fear for the best, never mitigating those risk factors. Or you can actually stay locked in to this short educational video today, as we are going to discuss 4 money stressors and how to reduce them. Hi, my name is Carson Graves, President and CEO of the Retirement Education Center.
And my name is Andrea, Director of Operations at the Retirement Education Center. And the reason we've created these educational videos is to help to make the difficult and confusing retirement process simple.
Absolutely. And we do this by incorporating a team of expert advisors, ranging from certified financial analysts, certified financial planners, estate attorneys, insurance advisors, and other needed professionals to help us build a comprehensive and holistic roadmap that will let our clients know when, where, and how they can reach their retirement goals.
For specialized strategies on how to maximize your retirement income, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell to be notified when we upload new videos. So Carson, I mentioned to you that I'm certainly not a risk taker, and you stopped me and asked me, how do you know?
Yeah, absolutely, Andrew, because I hear that a lot. People say they're not a risk taker. And I ask you, how do you really know that when you may not even understand the risk that you may be taking? So for example, let's say for instance, you may not want to put your money in the stock market. You may say, I don't want to lose anything, so I put it all in a checking or savings account or in a money market account. If you actually do that, Andrea, what you've actually done is open yourself up to 3 primary risk factors with those dollars. For one, because you're not earning any interest, you're going to be subjected to inflation. 2, if you're planning on using that money for your long-term income needs, guess what? Because it's not earning any interest, you definitely risk running out of money. And the third thing that you're going to look at when it comes to those money factors, Andrea, is that you're going to be in an unfavorable tax situation, because any money that you have sitting in that checking, savings account, or money market account will be subject to taxation and will not receive any tax deferral.
Well, see, that's why I love doing these videos with you, because it helps me to focus on my shortcomings with money.
Well, and that's why we do these videos, Andrea, for those out there who may feel just like you do. And so today we are going to cover 4 primary money stressors and how to reduce them. But before we get into that, there are always 2 rules to retirement income that we want to give you. And what are those 2 rules, Andrea?
Well, rule number 1 is to never run out of money, and rule number 2 is to never forget rule number 1.
So let's go ahead and start our educational lesson today about 4 money stressors and how to reduce them.
Okay, so Carson, you have 4 money stressors that you're going to talk about. And the first one on your list is market performance risk.
Yeah.
And I have a 401k, and you told me to put money in it, get my company match, and not look at it.
Yep.
But all that went out the door when the pandemic hit, and I looked at my account and saw that the values dropped. So how can people reduce the stress when that happens?
Yeah, Andrew, that's a really good question. I understand this very clearly. Like I mentioned to you, of course, you know this. I've been a financial advisor for more than 2 decades now, and I work primarily with seniors. And when the market is dropping, there's no group of people that get more stressed out about their portfolio than seniors, as they should be, because they have less time and they want to make sure that money is not ill affected by any major down market turns. So the one thing that you're going to want to do in order to reduce the stress of that happening to you is to create a buffer in your portfolio. Yes, you have to create a money buffer, or as I like to call it, insurance on your money. Now, I'm not talking about, the insurance like life insurance or disability insurance, those type of insurances, long-term care insurance. I'm really talking about money insurance, an ability to make sure that you can actually mitigate the downturns of the market by simply implementing a strategic buffer that will make sure it can absorb market downturns. And so what I'm going to do, Andrea, just quickly share my screen with you so I can really bring this home, and you'll probably understand it a lot better. So Andrea, I wanted to make sure that we take a look at this chart here as it pertains to the subject matter today. Now, as far as market performance risk and why that's so important to mitigate, if you take a look at these two lines that we have here, we have this red line that's going up and down. And this red line is going to represent market risk. This is what the stock market does from time to time. It goes up and it goes down. And where it's going to stop, no one knows. And where it's going to go back up, no one knows. But in order to help mitigate this market risk, as you can see, this blue line here, this is what I've been talking about as I move as a downside buffer. So if you're taking a look at the blue line, as the market goes up, this blue line can capture some of those gains. But when the market comes down, you have this floor of zero where you don't lose anything. And so if you can implement a strategy like this inside of your portfolio during highly volatile times, this could really help you alleviate some of the pressure and some of the anxiety that people experience in a down market.
So that was really eye-opening. I'm so glad you're able to educate us about those strategies. But second on your list is inflation risk.
Yes.
This one is a good one for me because I do a lot of the shopping.
You do.
And so when I'm in the stores and I see all these prices going up, I'm just like, wow, it's very frustrating. So how do you help people to reduce that stress?
Yeah, Andrew, that's another good one. That's another major money stressor that I think people tend to overlook, right?
Right.
Inflation is a real risk for your money and your portfolio. And I think nothing can be more evident of that factor as we see now. As we look around, and as you mentioned, we see the price of goods going up almost across the board. Now, we know that inflation is real because even if we go back, Andrew, to our high school days, when we were first getting a car, you can buy gas for 89 cents a gallon.
That's right.
But if you fast forward to now, you'll be very hard pressed to find gas under $2 a gallon. So that's the impact of inflation, and you really have to account for that when it comes to your money and in your investments as well. So I'm going to quickly share my screen again to you to kind of highlight how inflation can impact your overall thought process. Years down the road, when you think you have a certain amount of money, but that purchasing power just is not going to actually do what it did 15, 20 years ago as you expected. So to make sure that we can illustrate the importance of understanding inflation risk, I just want you guys to take a look at this slide here. And Andrew, this is going to help you out as well. So if you're looking at this investment, let's say you made an investment of $100 in that investment, and you cashed it in 25 years later for $1,000. So you had a $900 gain here in this investment, but you experienced 2% inflation. Well, to your surprise, at the end of that 25th year, that $1,000 that you have will only be able to purchase $600 worth of goods. So in order to combat this major scenario here that we know actually exists, you're going to want to implement some money growth options that can either meet what the inflation rate is at that time, or better yet, exceed that inflation rate, get more than what the inflation rate is, so you can have better growth in your money and not actually lose purchasing power with those dollars years down the road.
All right, Carson, that was great information about inflation. The next one on your list is sequence of returns. And honestly, I have no clue what that's about. So tell us about that.
Well, you will not be alone. And unfortunately, Andrea, many of my clients have not heard of sequence of returns risk until they've actually met with me, because unfortunately, many advisors do fail to talk about this type of risk in their portfolio. Now, sequence of returns risk, to not be too technical and not to be too wonkish, is simply poor timing with your money when it comes to taking out distributions in retirement. So for instance, Andrea, let's say you and I both have a portfolio of, let's say, $500,000. Now, if you actually, you like that? So let's just say, for instance, now you actually retired this year and you started taking distributions out of your portfolio. Or let's just say, even better, right after the major dip in the pandemic, you started taking distributions out of your portfolio. So in that case, in that scenario, you would be in a more advantageous situation than if I had started my income distributions right before the pandemic hit. Because why? I'm taking out money and all of a sudden the market is taking a major downturn. So when that takes place, you are then experiencing sequence of returns risk. And so there are ways to mitigate that stress. You can do that. One, you have to talk with us because we can help you do it. And then secondly, you have to actually implement it into your portfolio. So I'm going to share my screen with you quickly again, just to show you the ideas and the thought process behind how sequence of returns risk may be a detriment to your retirement. So again, let's go back to our chart to understand what sequence of returns risk is and how it may work against you. Now, unfortunately, many advisors don't talk about sequence of returns risk, and that's unfortunate. But that's why you're watching these educational videos, so you may be able to circumvent these types of situations here with your own money. So as we talked about before, this line here represents market risk. It goes up, it goes down. And we also, as I move, can show you that this is a buffer. That this can protect you during these type of volatile times where the market is going up and down. So I want that to be clear. Now, let's just say, for instance, when we're talking about sequence of returns risk, that you decided to start your income here. So at this point of time in your retirement, you're going to be in an advantageous situation because you're starting your income distributions when the marketplace is actually giving you returns on those dollars as you're taking it out. But let's say you're on the actual flip side of things and you jump into the market when it's at its peak and we experience a pandemic, or we just experience the market actually going through a capitulation stance. At that time, you're actually taking income out. The market is taking income down. And therefore, you are more susceptible to running out of money before you run out of breath versus this person here, because the market is actually giving it some returns. So this is a very it's a very spooky situation for many retirees that they should definitely be aware of for sure.
So the last money stressor you have is healthcare risk, and we both have parents that are 70 and above. So how do we mitigate that?
Yeah, absolutely, Andrew. And we both want our parents to remain healthy, right?
Right.
And Andrew, according to many studies, approximately 10,000 baby boomers are turning 65 every single day.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? And that number is going to continue, according to these studies, until the year 2030. Also, Andrea, according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, approximately 70% of people turning 65 will need at least some form of long-term care in their lives at some point. So it's very important that we talk about how to mitigate healthcare risk, because it could really take a huge bite out of your retirement savings. So let me share my screen with you one last time so we can really dive into the real danger of not protecting yourself from healthcare risk. Now, healthcare risk is a very, very dangerous situation to not plan for, because nothing can bring your money down faster than having some sort of long-term care situation. The question is always, what are your options? Are you going to self-insure, or are you going to utilize some type of long-term care insurance? So when you're talking about long-term care, we're talking about assisted living facilities. We're talking about home health care. We're talking about respite care and skilled nursing care. But let's take a look at the cost of these types of situations that you may find yourself in at some point during your retirement years. If you're looking at the national average for assisted living, we're talking about $48,000 per year. And that's depending on where you live. And when you're considering a nursing home, we're talking about over $100,000 per year. And unfortunately, these prices are going up. They're not going down. So what are your healthcare options? Let's take a look at this chart here. Let's assume that you have $1 million balance in your portfolio, and you're looking at maybe some modest returns in this portfolio of 5% per year. And you're going to be taking withdrawals from that portfolio of $50,000 per year, and we're going to adjust that for inflation. Well, if you do this, and neither you or your significant other would have a long-term care situation, you were fortunate. You were in that 30% of folks who will not have a long-term care situation. This money would foreseeably last you until age 92, basically for the rest of your life. But let's take a look at something different here. And let's assume that one spouse will have a long-term care situation. You're going to have a long-term care situation starting at age 65, that's going to last 5 years, basically to age 70. If you're taking a look at this and you're still taking the $50,000 of income, And we're going to look at an average cost. We're just going to look at an average cost of some type of long-term care of being $67,000 for this particular situation. And also adjusted for inflation for 3%. As you can clearly see, you end up running out of money in your early 80s. This is what it looks like to self-fund your own long-term care health issues versus having some sort of long-term care option to help bridge this gap here and not utilize so much of your portfolio balance. So you really have to think about if you have the ability to afford long-term care. You have to talk to an advisor who can help you understand what your options are.
So Carson, that was great information on those money stressors. I'm so glad you educated us on that.
Absolutely, Andrew, and that is why we do these educational videos. So I really hope that the information that we shared with you today will help you identify money stressors in your retirement and help you understand how to mitigate it as well. Please understand that these videos are created for educational purposes only, and that you should always seek out your own financial advisor, your own tax advisor, or attorney about your personal situation. And if you are looking for a fiduciary financial advisor to help you with these types of complex financial matters, please click on the link provided in the description below for more information on this topic or any other topics that we've covered in our prior videos. Please do not hesitate to reach out to our office or leave any questions or comments in the section below.
To learn more about our services and how we can help you to increase your chances of not outliving your retirement savings, make sure to click on the link in the description below and sign up for our free Maximizing Your Retirement Income Masterclass. After this video, please check out our other videos that we've created that will give you tips on how to maximize your retirement. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and share it with a friend. Thanks for watching, and remember, if you have questions,
we have answers.